Continues. Once again, Hugh Downs.
Here's something that you're going to have to think about over the holidays. The kids won't have school, and for many parents, that means negotiations over how much television they can watch and which shows are acceptable. A survey showed that violence is pervasive on TV, especially during children's viewing hours. But does that mean that your child will also become more violent? Well, tonight, John Stossel looks at an incredibly successful children's show that has turned that controversial question into a hot debate.
The kids are pounding each other again. Now, children have always done this sort of thing, but some people say it's worse today because of this. Power Rangers is the most popular kids show in the world. It gets double, often triple the ratings other kid shows get.
2, 3.
And Power Rangers paraphernalia is the year's big seller. Not just the action figures, sleeping bags, walkie-talkies, cookies, drinks, pour out of the store.
What's your favorite program?
Power Rangers. Power Rangers.
They're better than X-Men and Batman.
Why it's so popular isn't clear. From an adult perspective, it's an astonishingly stupid show. Five teens from the suburbs transform themselves, morph, they call it, into superheroes in spandex tights so they can fight Godzilla-like monsters. The monsters were sent to destroy the Earth by the screeching Rita Repulsa.
How could anyone conquer a world with a sandwich?
If it seems Rita's lips don't match her words, it's because they don't. This is cheap production. Rita and all the fight scenes are done in Japan. American teens are added later for the American audience. If you, heaven help you, watch closely, you'll see the exact same fight scenes in show after show. The kids don't mind.
That must be really fun.
I sure can't get 5-year-olds to pay this much attention to me. Oops, better not make any noise. Most kids said they liked it because of the violence.
I like fighting. I like booyah.
And there's plenty of that, roughly a third of each show. And that's why many teachers are upset. Kids are harder to control, they say. They can't concentrate because they're so obsessed with Power Rangers. One survey says classroom violence is up. Teachers complain the show teaches kids to solve problems by fighting.
We can't teach our children positive problem solving if we're saying go into action automatically, because then we're saying if Jimmy takes your block, then hit him with it.
Michelle Washington, who owns this daycare center, says kids were getting hurt acting out Power Ranger moves. She and other frustrated teachers have taken action.
I banned everything that had a Power Ranger name, picture, anything. Just no toys, no pajamas, no lunch boxes, nothing that had to do with Power Rangers.
She issued the ban after hearing about a horrible incident in Norway. 6-year-old boy, supposedly imitating a Power Rangers program, kicked and punched a 5-year-old girl till she lost consciousness. The boys then ran away, and the girl froze to death in the snow. Norway and New Zealand then took the show off the air.
I think research has made clear that televised violence induces some children to become more aggressive. And that's what's happening after the Power Rangers.
Chris Boyatzis, assistant professor of child development at Cal State, conducted a study of daycare center kids who watched a Power Rangers tape. He says kids who saw the tape committed 7 times as many aggressive acts as those who didn't watch.
Are we ready? Can we play this?
Boyatzis didn't videotape his test, so he helped us do our own test with these second graders.
Catch it. Get it, get it.
They watched the show and then broke for recess.
Mastodon! You would say with 2 tigers. Saber-tooth tiger. Triceratops.
Sure enough, most spent most of the time kicking. Boyatzis says if parents won't limit what their kids watch and television won't cut back on violence, then the government should do something.
Our society is more violent than ever. And I'm suggesting that we draw the line here.
If the government steps in, how would that work? Who would there be a Bureau of Motor Vehicles would split off? And
there would be a Bureau of TV Standards. Canada
and
has
every
it.
program would be submitted to them.
Possibly.
The Canadian government is quicker to intervene. After parents filed complaints about Power Rangers violence, bureaucrats responded by getting Power Rangers to take half a minute of fighting out of each episode. Of course, watching kids in Canadian playgrounds, you don't see all that much difference. Is censorship the solution? Kids are more violent today, but is that because of TV or lack of parenting? A later investigation in Norway showed the death of the 5-year-old was not related to Power Rangers, and the show was back on the air. If TV is the problem, why Power Rangers and not, say, Ninja Turtles? I'm not thrilled that my son watches this garbage, but my parents weren't thrilled with what I watched.
I was watching Roadrunner cartoons and Sylvester and Tweety, and Sylvester was getting the stuffing beat out of him.
Sure.
Just as much as in the Power Rangers.
Children imitate real aggression more than they imitate animated aggression. I remember seeing anvils being dropped on characters' heads. Kids don't have access to anvils.
I guess we should be grateful for that. But if it's realistic violence we're supposed to worry about, then what about professional wrestling? What about the even nastier stuff that goes on at video arcade? On TV, the Power Rangers never draw blood, but at the arcade, the kids mutilate each other. In the most popular game, you punch open your opponent's chest and rip out his still beating heart.
Flawless victor fatality.
Of course, kids have always had an appetite for violence. Think about fairy tales. Hansel and Gretel cook the witch. The wolf eats Little Red Riding Hood. Snow White is poisoned. Psychologists say such stories can help kids deal with their anger and feelings of powerlessness. What child doesn't feel better daydreaming about morphing into a superhero?
Is that like how they teleport?
You wish you could do that?
Yeah.
Would give you more power?
Yeah.
What would you do if you could do that?
I would just be happy.
Kids are tiny, and this helps them feel powerful, that they can morph into something that will master their fears. Isn't some of this good for kids?
But that doesn't mean that we have to accept a program where the characters morph only to become excessively violent.
Excessively violent. Maybe that's the point.
Cavendish, drop that gun.
The Lone Ranger shot people in the hand.
Assassins!
Now we have the X-Men and Power Rangers. But does watching this make kids violent? No kids have been reported injured. And yes, these kids kicked more after watching Power Rangers, but notice that they kicked the air, not each other. Or they kicked the wall. Maybe the kids know the show isn't real.
No, it's fantasy.
Weren't you guys running around kicking each other at recess?
Well, we didn't really kick each other, we just faked it.
Of course, these are 7-year-olds. It's younger kids who are more likely to be confused about what's real. So I played a tape for the 5-year-olds on my kid's soccer team. These kids also acted the parts with weapons yet, but they didn't hurt each other. Isn't this just the kind of play fighting kids have always done? And even 5-year-olds could separate the show from reality.
Try to morph now, little guy.
He doesn't really believe his friend can morph. And few of the parents wanted censorship.
The bottom line is that you have to know your child and you have to set appropriate limits. If you feel that your child is going to rape and pillage after watching Power Rangers, turn to Barney. It's up to you.
Can you always supervise your child?
I know what he's allowed to watch, and I tell him what he's allowed to watch.
And many parents said, it isn't the Power Rangers which threatens kids, it's the news.
Because they find that very frightening. That gives them bad dreams.
This they know is fake.
Yeah, they know it's fake.
Are they really fighting?
Pretending? Because it can't be real.
Why not?
Yeah. It's not true.
How do you know?
Because then it would be happening now. Yeah. It would be on the news, not on TV. Yeah.
Wow. You know, there is this controversy today about whether violence on television does produce violence in kids and maybe even in adults. What's the research?
So much research has been done, and they have clearly shown that kids who watch a lot of violent TV commit more violent acts and are more likely to commit crimes. But what does that prove? It's this sort of social science mush. It may be that kids who are disposed to be violent like watching violent TV. You don't know what came first.
Well, do you have suggestions for parents? One of those kids was yours, right?
The one was.
And you allow him
I allow him
watch.
to watch, and you could censor it at home, but then they watch someplace else. You can't keep them from seeing the violence. Most psychologists suggest watch with the kids, and then you can explain what's real, what's not. You can say, hey, do you know that if you kick someone, that's going to hurt them?
That has so much to do with it, and that is being with your kids and watching together, and kids watching television when parents aren't home. Well, John, you're going to stay here because we have a report when we come back of some new developments